Wow. Another KJ production coming up. What's amazing is I got another KJ on the other line. My boy, 1998, Vandenberg, basketball court. Man, you don't want to miss this show. But I'm not going to give away too much because we're talking about perspectives and bridging gaps, whether it's basketball, family, cigars, or just being my brother as a chief. We go back. I'm honored to talk to my homeboy, longtime friend, Kendric Jones. You there, brother?
I am here, my man. How are you?
I'm good, man. So what did you think about the intro?
Wow, man. I mean, it's going back to that melody, that vibe. It took me back to, days when I can get on the floor and still dance without having to put Jared on.
Back in the day when you could still dance. I like it.
Yeah, man. That day is gone.
Yeah? No. I see you out there. I see you out there doing it, man. And, and so, I had reached out to you. So, you know what? Let me have you introduce yourself to the audience first beyond what I told you. And then we'll kind of get into when I reached out to you, and then we'll let it unfold from there. How's that sound?
Hey, man, that's good. So, KJ, go by KJ. First name is Turan. Last name Jones. That's why when you try to find me on the global, my brother, you couldn't because I have an alias, as we all should. But in the Air Force for 27, coming up on 27 years. I love it. I'm currently sitting over at Andrews as a group super. On my way out the door in about a couple of months. So enjoy that. A little bit about me. I love learning, lifelong learner. I like to hoop it up. Used to, at least. I like engaging with people. I like spirited debate. I like finding things and going in areas where I don't know much about and learning. That kind of drove me to meeting the KJ, the man, the myth, the legend, the owner of this show. And then moving from that, just constant effort to, grow relationships, build relationships, lead better than I found it, whether that be in military or life alone or in the family setting. And that's a little bit about KJ.
Man.
KJ2.
So, there's a lot of us, right? And there's a lot of KJs out there. And that's the beauty if you want to stay hidden, be like, go ahead, look up KJ and see what you find on Google. You ain't going to find me, or you're going to have a lot of options. It's like one of them bad restaurants that has a menu as big as those books you used when you was working on your PhD. Like, good luck. But, I think there's something special here. And as I started this brand, I'm going to tell you, and I don't know if you experience it. Maybe not. I think your lenses are a lot cleaner than mine. You definitely are at a higher level of emotional intelligence than me. And I go back to that because when you start to create something, a lot of self-doubt, it's a transition for us, right? We do over 2 decades, almost 3 decades in the military serving and being selfless. And I think it's programmed into us to be selfless. And then you start to wonder, like, man, like who's really out there watching? Who's paying attention? Is anyone? Who's my tribe? Am I not part of it? And I was going through my little mental Dewey Decimal System because that's all I got. I'm not a PhD guy. I'm kind of one of those, I don't know what I am. But what I will say is I was going through that and I was like, man, there was someone out there who always had my back, who always reached out to me. And whether they got too busy or they felt like I did a poor job receiving it, I felt like I was that guy who did not do well at reciprocating or understanding that I had someone out there looking out for me, which was you. And I'd shot you a note, and I'm gonna read it because I think it needs to be said because I think me and you as bigger dudes who are competitive, who are chiefs, I think people lose the human aspect of who we really are. And most people who know me, hopefully the ones who really, really know me, I'm never above apologizing. And so, I wrote, I feel like I didn't appreciate you as much as I should have. Reflecting over the last 2 months and building a brand while having another kid, I appreciate you never forgetting me, reaching out to check on me. I miss you, bro. I'm going to ad-lib a little bit at that because it won't make sense if I read it verbatim, right? But I think we forget that. I think sometimes we can have a bad attitude. And
Yeah.
okay, here we go. See, I love it. See?
Yeah. But guess what? Guess what though? That's life. That's life. And so if we do find a space that we get too preoccupied with whatever life throws our way, we have to stop and address that. And I'm look here, man. I've known you long enough to know that you are a very, very humble guy. But most people probably don't relate that part to you. They probably think that you're very outgoing and that you have a tough skin. But I know you're a gentle giant, man. I've seen that. Well, you're really gentle on the court.
What? So here we go.
No, but you are one of the realest man that I've ever come across. I mean, the fact that we still have this circle for this many years says a lot, because I've said a lot of lightweight. I had to.
Yeah.
But when you see someone that truly is humble and genuine, man, it doesn't, like a friend of mine told me, we can go, days, months, years without picking up the phone. Doesn't mean that we lost that connection. So I heard the apology, but yeah, there was no love lost at all, because I've always felt that we've had a connection from day one.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm grateful that you see where the angle I was coming from, because I was like, wow, I'm just sitting here thinking nobody's got my back, and this whole time, someone was always looking out for me from across the states, right? And thank God we came across each other at McCord, right? And
yeah, I know, that was crazy, wasn't it?
Right. And we're looking at each other, and it's like, where do we know each other? But, age, I don't think age has ever caught up as far as looks, but I think we were both a lot faster and leaner. Obviously, in 1998, we were both younger. And it's almost like, yeah, but you made a mark enough for me to be like, okay, I know you.
Yeah, man.
And
yeah, man.
I'm totally grateful for that. And so, if anyone's ever not heard KJ apologize, literally this will be in the social media world forever.
All it does is confirm what we said before, man. But to your point though, man, think about that. So when you invest energy into a person, right? When you invest time, that's really your most valuable asset as a person, not your finances, it's your time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you invest that time in a person, and you discover truly the character or whatever those traits are that you are attracted to, it really is amazing. Before social media, right? We didn't have social media back then. So it wasn't like we could just go out there and follow each other on Facebook or Instagram.
Right.
The only way we really could connect back then was what? Hey man, what's your permanent address where your mom lives or whatever, or your phone number, so I can keep in touch. So we had to work a lot harder to stay connected back then.
Right.
So I think that kind of waters down the apology a little bit, because it would tell me that no matter what, even though we didn't have many vehicles to stay in touch, boom,
we stayed in touch.
Amen.
I like it.
That's real. That's real, man.
Nah, I agree. You know what I mean? And we could have connected in was I in Chief School or Senior NCO Academy, one of the two, and you was out in the Montgomery area. And I can't remember, something was going on in my life. And I just couldn't make it. And so, again, man, you've already said it's okay, and it's time for the KJ to move the fuck on. So,
yeah, man.
But what I love though is that I think was a great segue in a few things. And chronologically, it may not be in order, but I think it's important for the listeners to understand where KJ, Kendric Jones, I did just over 28 years. You're approaching that. And you opted to pop smoke out for whatever reasons you had. But some of the things I wrote down were lessons learned. I think it's important to understand your journeys, because me and you don't serve the amount of time we do without loving and caring for our airmen. The problem is someone needs to write a book called The 7 Love Languages, because I think there's different love languages now for this next generation coming up.
Speak on it.
Right. And we are often, I think we are often misunderstood, especially you're actually bigger than me. And if people can put contrast out there who know me and you, the presence of that size with candor, with intellect and education with them stripes for the younger generation, I think is too overwhelming for most of them. Unless you're talking about tea and crumpets and here's more time off, or we won't get into why it's double-edged sword for me. Honestly, I'm glad the AC went away. I'm just pissed it went away after I spent years struggling with an AC measurement and arguing that it was dumb. I'm being honest, right? I'm like,
real talk.
I'm like, this is
talk.
the dumbest shit ever, but okay. And here I am sucking it in with pH, preparation H, and saran wrap the night before.
Hey, you too, right? You
too. But your story, my friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the airmen need to be able to connect with that, because me and you put gold out there. We set the GPS coordinates, yet they still don't follow it. And I don't want them to fall trap, because everybody don't make it to the 1%, and everybody don't get the opportunities to transition smoothly like we did. And I think that breaks our heart, and they don't understand that. Like, you know, like, look, we've spent years putting it out there. So can you tell us, you know, a little bit about you and why you joined, any lessons learned, and how you got to where you're at today that will segue into the bridge?
Too easy. This is almost like a 30-second elevator speech. I mean, every chief has it, right?
Not me. Mine is terrible.
That's why you have to have an hour podcast. I mean, each his own, right?
I don't got the 30-minute power stuff.
So mine is really easy. I had no filter as well. I didn't have any mentors. I was I was soon to be a college dropout after 2 years. Took a job at the Internal Revenue Service there as a supply clerk in Jackson, Mississippi, and I ran into a guy named Fred. Fred was the one that was my supervisor, and Fred did some things that Fred probably wouldn't want me to advertise on your show, but it was not so good things. And he didn't want me to fall victim to the same things, same types of behavior. He said, "You have too much talent. You should think about getting out of Jackson, Mississippi." And I'm like, whatever. But he introduced this thing called the Air Force. Didn't know anything about it. First time anybody in my family even thought of serving in the military. And I was like, yeah, whatever. What people don't know about me is on a night in Jackson, Mississippi, shortly after that conversation, I was in the back seat of a car doing some things, and a person shot into the car, hit the individual in the front seat, missed me, and this was a two-door vehicle. So imagine me being in the back seat of a two-door vehicle and shots ringing out, and I can't go anywhere. Luckily, miraculously, I left the vehicle untouched. The person in front, not so fortunate. And I got back to my apartment that night, late that night, and I just kept thinking about what Fred said about the Air Force. So I went back to Fred the next morning, told him what had happened. He said, "Yep, told you, get away from this lifestyle." He actually walked me over to the mess. Fred did, and that's when I actually asked him questions. A few weeks later, I was already in process. A month and a half later, I'm on the airplane going to San Antonio. That's KJ's story, man. That's how I came into the Air Force. So what motivated me after that to continue to serve in the Air Force was to not be a victim of my own ignorance. That's a theme, not to be a victim of my own ignorance. That's what motivated KJ from day one. So to start that and remind me every day not to be a victim of my own ignorance, I changed my identity. My first name is Teran. Everybody up until that point knew me as Teran. When I joined the Air Force, I started going by my middle name, which is Ken. So everybody that knows me as Ken reinforces that change of identity that I decided to embark upon back in 1994. Now, as we progress through ranks, as you asked me to tell my story, I'm humbled by remembering that event. No matter what I do, whether it's a PT test, whether it's EPR, whether it's engaging with an airman, I remember that event. That event has totally shaped how I approach life because I was so ignorant, I was so impressionable, and I didn't have mentors except for Fred. Now, there are people in my life that I didn't listen to because I was very, how should I say that, arrogant? Very arrogant, knew it all. But for some strange reason, Fred was able to crack through that arrogance. So those two events making sure that you are aware of those things that shape, that influence your ignorance, and also being the person that can be the Fred.
So
I look at every challenge.
So
be the Fred.
I need to just throw this in for Fred and give him a shout out, because I think he had the Dr. Seuss mindset, because Dr. Seuss once said, "Why fit in when you were born to stand out?" And I think he saw that in you, and he's like, "Hey, you don't need to fit in here. You need to stand out." And look where and look at this story. So I apologize for jumping in on that, but I felt like that was key to throw that in about you, my friend.
But that was it. I mean, that sums it up. So when you say, you know, how can the airmen connect with us? We don't have to force them to connect with us. Fred didn't force me to connect with him,
right?
At all. You know, my parents may have tried to force me to connect with them. when the Reverend tried to say, "Hey, do this," and you're like, "Well, I don't know if I feel that. I'm too arrogant right now." That has to be another person that can get in that space.
Yeah,
that's me and you. That's me and you, KJ.
Yeah,
that's me and you. That's what we've done.
It's funny, you know, a lot of the younger folks, and I know you travel. You know, when we first reconnected at McCord, and then you came to Nellis. You know, I used to tell and I think this is something that, and I don't know if we cracked this code in the military. I said, you know, don't just look at these stripes. I was like, I'm a person too. I was like, and I may 100% agree with what you're telling me while you're in my office. And then I'm going to make a decision in the masses that doesn't align with what you want, even though I agree with you, because it doesn't benefit the masses. You know, and then it's like, "Oh, you fucking asshole," or, you know, exactly. Assassinating my character. And we're used to that, you know, and we have to be, through the years, I tell them, like, you know, I said, I have to be emotionally intelligent enough to understand that I'm going to pull this knife out of my back that you put there and still help you tomorrow.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That takes a bit more than just emotional intelligence, though. I think it takes you have to have people around you that understand that actually supports you,
right,
as a leader. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if when it to the point, I mean, I don't know if you want to go too detailed into some of the things I know you've experienced just over the last 4 to 5 years, but dude, man, you've been on the Budweiser hot seat, man. Dealing with your own personal, you know, circumstances, and then the work. I'm like, man, this dude is wow.
Right.
he's a picture of resilience.
Man, we there's I told someone, asked me, they're like, "Hey, is anything off limits?" I said, as long as it don't get me divorced. I said, so we're not going to talk about younger Kevin. I was like, but no, I said, I did, I don't know if you know, I did the interview with Geraldine Lovely. And
oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, it's
wow.
It's about 10 days in, and it was an astounding, about 95% positive, right? And the thing that it just bothered me, and then I have another brother, man. You would love this guy. He's out of Orlando. He's an Air Force wounded warrior like me. He's a services guy. And I was talking to him, and this is like the real life, like Barry White, right? Like, I'm telling you, if you hear his voice. And he said, brother, he said, and this is honestly the catalyst to what made me end up getting to realizing how much I should have appreciated you and how you reached out to me more often. Because it hit me. I was like, actually, he don't call me no more or text me. You used to, right? And I was like, did I do something wrong? And that's why I reached out to you. And I felt slightly culpable to this, not because it was direct, but it, sometimes, me and you were smart enough to be able to kind of peanut butter spread and stay within the boundaries of the crust and say, okay, was I culpable to any of this, right? And he said, when your boys are supposed to be there for you, majority of them are not. And these are people I called friends. And he said, most times they're across the street, metaphorically, assassinating your character. And I knew I was going to interview him after I did the Lovely thing, because I watched people, and I hope they hear it, because fuck them. There'll be friends. So this is true. Friends on my Facebook page who follow my Kicking It with KJ, right? They had nothing to say to me direct or in a DM and say, hey, help clarify this when I did this Art and Lovely conversation, right? But you bet they was over on someone else's page that I was mutual friends with saying some shit. And these are people that I helped that I didn't have to help. I don't have to be on the like you have a manpower page, we have a services page. I don't have to be out there seeing someone who needs help with an EPR or help with an assignment because you know my character. It's just like yours. I'll help you. I don't even need to know you. And to include someone who had posted it and, so I appreciate it, but it was posted in a way that was very ambiguous. Like, I'm not going to tell you which side I stand on, and that's okay too. But if someone starts attacking my character, I expect you to say, but that's not him though. And maybe you're coming to the story with a bias. And what people didn't understand is like with the bridge, right? Like, and that's coming in 2021, right? Don't think I don't see hashtag the bridge and big shit coming when you post it. And I love that. And I said, you absolutely don't have to agree 100% with me, but you 100% know my character. And when people start throwing my name out there and labeling me as this, and this, that's okay because shallow puddles don't know the depths of the ocean. You're not on my level. And when you go out as True Blue ID KJ, just like I am, like I'm in the community helping, not, like the folks that are all hua, no dua, just typing behind a keyboard. I'm like, when I go help a veteran in the community, I'm there to help vets. I support vets, right? Sergeant Lovely is a vet. And if she is going through shit still based on a huge mistake she made, why wouldn't I give her a platform to share her side?
Absolutely. And so KJ, so you just made my freaking month by telling me you did that. I'm just pissed off that I didn't know you did it. So I could have paid attention to it. You gotta I've been there.
You got to subscribe, brother.
I got to do that. I'm going to do that as soon as we get off because I think that's a perfect conversation for us to have right now.
Right.
Let's peel that back a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's peel that back a little bit. Because we are living in a hyper political environment, and I'm not talking about just with politics. I'm talking about no kidding and people wanting to express their damn opinions.
Yep.
Because we're in a very hyper political environment, and we have a platforms plural, for us to be able to express that. Now, these platforms are not targeting us as big business targets with marketable outreach for particular products and services.
Right.
They're targeting us based upon our own postings. So now it's a competition to see what side or what clique it is that you can align with. It's no different than when me and you were in high school or middle school. We had the cliques, but they only had so much energy, so much fuel, right? They can only go as far as the person with the loudest mouth can take it. Right. Their influence. But now, bro, you don't have to have a loud mouth. All you have to have is a freaking keyboard. Let me tell you something, man. Even with the bridge, as great as an organization as this is, as great as an organization as this is and will be, there's a divide amongst some of the people who established it. Even with the manpower community, where we looked at totally reinvigorating the way that we deliver a service to make it more modern and innovative so that our teams can be more respected, there was a divide in how we did that. Even as a group superintendent in the middle of a COVID pandemic, about how we do certain things and offer certain service, there is a divide in how we do that. So here's what I would tell you. I don't give a shit about any of it. I don't care about the people who are divisive. I try to use it as a strength. And I'll tell you a person that I thought did it exceedingly well, General Goldfein. Hate to bring Air Force back into this, but I'm gonna talk to you about what General Goldfein did that I admired so much.
Right.
Do you remember John Q. Public?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. John Q. Public kind of died away, but there was an uprising of another satirist who was kind of like him. I can't think of his name, and if I didn't, I probably wouldn't even drop it on your show. But he came out and he was talking about how there were certain inconsistencies in officer development, officer promotions, and officer assignments, and blah blah blah. He had an alias. So what General Kofi and the staff did, they called him out. They said, "Hey, you don't agree with what we're doing. in the Air Force. Got it. I'm not saying I agree with the fact that you don't agree, but if you have an opinion and you're willing to put some action to it, I want to bring you onto the team.
Oh, are you serious?
Go Google this shit, man. Go Google it. I want to bring you onto the team. Now, in order for me to bring you onto the team, you got to reveal who you are. Because and he was an active duty officer. I think it was a lieutenant colonel type. And the story goes like this. The individual took him up on it. So what General Goldfein showed me is that there are two types of people that dissent. Two types. There are people that dissent because they're envious of you and they want to do what they need to do to kind of pull you down so that you can be on the level where they are.
Right.
That's their intent. But then there's also someone that may have divergent thought that if you accept that, bring them into your environment, they can make you a more effective decision maker.
Right.
So when I saw that, brother, I said, let me try this out, man. I did it. And I realized that those people can actually cover on our blind spots, man, and build a better team.
Man, I
give everybody else, I just either unfriend.
Oh, holy smokes. Hold on. Let me go to my Facebook right now and make sure I'm still on there. No, I'm just.
No, you there, brother.
I'm messing.
Hey, I do share dead weight probably weekly though. I'm gonna run right now post election.
Yeah, you know what? I am. I'm gonna tell you, man. So it's funny, and I try not to get in political conversations because not because I don't want to. I pick and choose who is capable of having it, and I think it's a sad thing because you can't have the conversation. You already knew our country is in need of help when you're automatically labeled for having a belief system. And it was funny because I was talking to someone and let's say you went on the President Trump side of support, and it was just the narrow mindedness that exists. I said, you know where you just took me? And they didn't think I was going to go there. I said, you remind me of the narrow-mindedness that probably existed in Selma during the Civil Rights Movement. I said, what makes you? I said, what makes you any different? I was like, inclusiveness and coming to the table, right? And God, like it's one of my favorite movies that I saw recently. I don't remember the name, but oh my goodness, it was. You know what? I'm not going to embarrass myself because I don't fucking remember the name of the movie. But it was great because it was like a KKK leader who was paired up with what's her name from Empire, and they had to work together for something. And and this is a true story. They became like lifelong friends. It's a powerful, phenomenal movie, and they had to put their differences aside for the better of one thing, and both were getting beat the shit out of. For people would see that the relationship was growing into something like that was natural and human. It was humanized, right? And I said, you have to be open-minded, and I'm gonna tell you. So it's funny because you brought that up, and so I want to ask you a question because
bring it.
Oh no, so this is about you, but I also know that you were very close to Chief Wright. Mm-hmm. Am I allowed to ask this? Because you know him, and in my career, 28 years, he to me was the best, the most memorable to me, to Kevin James, Chief James, whatever you want to call it. But in the trenches, and this is the thing, it's easy to assume at my level versus where he was at, right? And this is an easy one, so I promise you, this is not nothing that's going to be like the title enlisted Jesus, right? I know he didn't make it up. But for me as a chief in the squadron to be crucified for saying Merry Christmas and thank God, how did that behind the closed doors? Because I mean he's retired now and he's doing big things, right? He's doing the Air Force AFSA, right?
No, Aid Society. Air Force Aid Society. I'm
sorry, yeah, not AFSA, Air Force Aid Society. So, like, how did that play out? I mean, because yeah, I mean, that's just something that always threw me off. I was like, well, how come I can't say Merry Christmas and thank God? But, and I think that was like something when you become that level, it's like, look, I can't control what the masses say and do. And I can't fight everything. So yeah, I think I knew the answer to that, but I was just looking for confirmation.
Yeah, so one thing. So I dare not speak for one Mr. Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, 18 retired Khalid Price. I wouldn't definitely speak for him. But what I will say, as I observe from afar, and sometimes close, is that he sees every opportunity to connect with airmen.
Yeah.
Every. I say every opportunity to connect with airmen, and a part of connecting with airmen is realizing that our old asses,
mm-hmm.
we have a different way. Our perspectives are different because they're shaped by all of our experiences, and they're definitely not the same perspective of the generation that's operating at the 18 to 24-year-old. So they have a way of communicating grassroots wise on their social media platforms.
Right.
Once it takes off, it's a hashtag moment.
Yeah.
So it would be, even if he didn't like it, which I'm gonna tell you, there was nervous early on. Even if he didn't like it, he couldn't stop it. There's nothing he could have done to stop it.
Well,
because it was a grassroots level. It was kind of like the whole Black Lives Matter movement and all these other grassroots levels that just take off without any organization, and they just run. So here's the thing, like General Goldfein did, when you have an opportunity to connect, even if it's uncomfortable with you, you connect. Now, is there going to be people out there that say, "Hey, man, I think that's borderline, proselytizing, or maybe, infringing on religious rights, or whatever you want to call it"? Absolutely. That, my friend, will be called risk.
Yeah.
That would be called risk. So what he would do, and what any other leader would do, is that you have to balance risk with effective communication with the team. And I'll tell you, I didn't think it was possible. I'm going to be honest, because I had these conversations. I'm like, this is not going to last long. And what happened? Proved us wrong every time.
Well,
every time. And airmen started loving the hell out of them.
I think maybe he's the 6th and 7th love language we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that, bridging those gaps. So I was always just curious about that. And, and one change that, I know you're connected with them, and I follow him. I haven't started following Joanne because I'm going through my phase of trying to stay connected enough, but also transition and let it go. I don't want to be that guy who I did my time. I think I deserve to do good stuff for our airmen, but I don't necessarily I don't know. I haven't matured enough to be able to still get through my roughness. But one thing I think that I hope that they will do is I know it's hard, but stop just meeting with command chiefs and group chiefs.
Oh, nice.
Like, I'm a fucking chief too, and you come to my base, and I'm not out having steak dinners and shit with you. And I can't tell you how much stuff gets lost in translation from a squadron chief perspective all the way up to a command chief. You know what I mean? And I think if you want to hear the opinion of an airman on a social media page, when you come to a base, have a forum for your squadron chiefs to say something. And in some I think Kevin James would. But we don't get afforded that opportunity. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the one taking the face punches.
And a lot of them, So you're spot on with how we portray the core. I would say the fraternal order of the chiefs. How we shore up that. And I'll tell you one thing that I did like that Chief Wright did is when he came in. In fact, I met him right after I was announced as the career field manager down in Maxwell.
Right.
And then we bumped into each other again a week later down in San Antonio. And his focus was exactly what you said. It was strategic to be able to decouple this mystic divide between tiers of chiefs.
Yeah.
He just simply ran out of time. He just ran out of time.
No, I wish he wouldn't have.
I think what you will see with Chief Bass, though, I think you'll see with her, I mean, after she tries to navigate through this curveball that was thrown all leaders, this COVID curveball, is you will see her trying to find ways. Well, number one, the biggest concern of all leaders right now is being connected to airmen who are teleworking. Really, those that are away. This is a challenge, man. It is a huge challenge. So what she's focusing her attention on right now, while still doing programs that we need to get to take care of, fitness being one, and evaluation system being another. She's just trying to stay connected with airmen, man.
Just
trying to stay connected with airmen.
So it's funny you said that because I was looking at my son, And well, I got lots of kids. I decided to have another one late in my years, but
yeah, we're gonna talk about that. You want to talk about that?
Well, we can, but I think we love our airmen like we love our kids.
We do.
And I didn't realize that. I was like, we're literally doing what in prison you get solitary confinement as punishment. And I feel like that's what Chief Bass has. That's what we as leaders have. Like, we have airmen that are literally confined to their quarters. We don't know what they're going through. The stigma is not hard. I'm an Air Force wounded warrior with PTSD. You may not know. And I probably am not ashamed of it. I have suicidal ideations all the time from doing mortuary affairs in combat, and several other times. I would never do it. But I grew unafraid to express that, and then I was there, when Thunderbird 4 went down, and our team did search and recovery, and I watched them breaking down just to be deployed before we even knew if they were impacted. And there's a lot of battles we fight at the lower end, but this isn't what that's about. I would never invite you on my show that's for another day.
Wait a minute. You said we could talk about anything, so don't go back.
No,
now.
I don't want it to be about me though. No. So I don't want it to be about me. I guess what I'm saying is that, let's go down the path. Right. And so that's why I became very bitter towards the end as a chief, because I've lost my family. I think
I told you that.
Right. And I said, what the fuck? I'm sitting here dealing with these A3 idiots who don't want to fucking approve a reclama for people who are going through shit. And so I got tired of the double talk. Like, well, hey, we got this culture of suicide. I'm like, yeah, well, this person just did this. They just came back from their 14th deployment because ACC does these bullshit AEF reach backs because they can't fill a bucket. And I'm telling you as
your ACC.
Yeah, and I'm telling you. Yeah, and I've done my remotes. I did more deployments than most folks, right? 8 deployments or 3-4 deployments with 3 remotes. And here I am being looked at as like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, well, then you don't really give a shit about them because this is what they're going through. And I understand there's a balance, but don't tell me there are not other commands with my career field just sitting there digging in their ass every day. So
yeah, that could be a whole nother conversation with a broken ineffective process to be able to present forces. But yes, that's that can be an hour or so in itself.
Right. So think about me as an FSS chief. And I used to say to this, I used to tell MB, I'm just going to go with MB because I don't want to throw names out there, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, so how come I'm not losing people to big time jobs out here in the mecca of hospitality management? I live in Las Vegas. I said, you know why? Because they're cheap labor to you. And they go down range and they don't even do their job. They watch TCNs or LNs do their job.
Right.
I was like, so how come? Right. I said, because you don't arm them with sous chef and baking certificates and ice carving. I said, why not? I was like, and that's the problem though. From my lens, that's what it looks like. From their lens at a strategic level, it may not. But there's a disconnect.
I would say the reason why it's a problem for you and me is because we know we can do better. We grew up in better. Mm-hmm. We grew up with better communication. We grew up with, if we have spotted, let's just be real. So let's be real. So 15 years ago, a chief in your craft, if they spot something, they had a little more, I would say, now I wouldn't even say autonomy, but they had a little better network of being able to get the solutions done. But then 9/11 came along. 9/11 came. 9/11 came along and shook up everything. Now we had to be able to find a better way to make the AAF work.
Yeah.
But we've been trying to make the AAF work for how many years after that? So again, we can go a whole other conversation on that. But here's what I will say. Here's what I will say. Here's what I will say for me and you, and all for those that are listening to me and you. How do we take our experience, provide that insight to the current force, and be able to mentor the folks that are impacted by current status quo today?
I have an answer for you.
Who's afraid? I'm ready. What is it?
Kicking it with KJ in the bridge. Like, I mean, honestly, and it's funny. I still forget that I have a blue ID card. I can say whatever I want, but I balance that because I'm not bitter. I love the Air Force. I am grateful for what it gave me. But it can be easily misconstrued that I'm disappointed with the institution. I'm not. I think I was blessed. And so that's why I'm very cautious about the remember how we're supposed to know our audience, right? So yeah. I'm not always delivering news to the most intellectual ready people, you know? And so, but I try to bring them honesty because that's who I am. I try to be real, but I don't want it to be taken as like, oh yeah, he got that blue ID card and he's no. I love the Air Force. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's that way. Again, I go back to that Fred moment. I mean, I never at one point did I ever challenge Fred's credentials when he was giving me that advice.
Right.
I never said, man, Fred's disgruntled or Fred's just anti-Navy or what's this angle. I didn't. None of that stuff. I was like, this dude made such an impression on the surface that I was empathetically connected to his wise counsel. Yeah. So you got a platform. I have a platform where we can say, hey, and I'll tell you like this. You put everything into perspective, and then you give that perspective to the airmen, and you allow them to be able to help shape their purpose. I mean, because if they don't have purpose, you and I, when we get tired, we say, hey, I'm at a point where I can exit stage right.
Yeah.
Still going to be there, but I'm not going to be a part of the bureaucracy anymore. I'm going to just mentor from the side. I was the chief for 4 years. It'll be 4.5 years when I retire.
Yeah.
You were chief for what, 3 years?
Yeah. I was a late bloomer because I was so damn causing so much shit and problems with people. I don't even know how I made it.
That made you. I know how you made it. I know how to make it because you're the real deal. That's why. Too easy to me. Too easy. And the board saw it. But here, check this out. This dude that's 16.5 years, bruh, when he gets to my point of 4.5 years, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, that's such a loaded question. Today? Today's airman. Think about it. This person is eligible on the VRS program most likely. I think he should almost be able to connect with them a little bit more than what we could.
Oh, I hope you're right. My concern is that a lot of the things that made us who we are is our experiences.
It is.
I don't know that those experiences have been there for that.
No,
I know.
I know. So this is what I said towards the end. And this goes to contrasting me as a chief versus a 16-year chief. A part of me will be like, get the fuck out of here. I got more deployment time than you do in service. I think the Air Force shifted to where people like me were ostracized, because I saw it. This was before Chief Wright. This is when Chief Cody, like, I know I was at Senior and SEAL Academy, and they're like, yep, if you've been in beyond 18 years, you can't go in residence. And, Chief Wright changed all that because I was like, in residence is where it's at,
No doubt.
And,
yep.
And then when they changed, you can't be a command chief if you've been in this long, right? And I'm like, man, I said, I made chief a little late, but it don't mean I'm any less chief than someone else. And I think that's where those little things, the intent is not malicious, but that's the second and third order effects at the lower levels to where I'm like, yeah, bro, whatever, because there is, and this is no plug at you, because I don't have a PhD. I could have worked on one, but I have 6 degrees, right? I finished at a master's. I think when me and you were coming up, there was a difference between an academic versus someone who worked hard. Because I used to tell people, like, there's some, and this is not you. I know you were smart and you're a warrior leader, but there's some that are very academic who promoted who can't get shit done. You've seen them. Come on.
Very well.
Right.
Very well. Fair enough.
And I said, listen, I said, here I am reading this book on how to play ball like LeBron James. I said, I can't jump more than 2 inches off the ground, no matter how much I read how to dunk a ball. And,
I believe I can fly, though.
Bruh, and I know you can, but me and you had to evolve because me and you both can be physical, but we can also be intellectual. And I told someone, I said, listen, even though I was a great ball player, and I've looked at your pictures, man, and between golf and ball, those are the two sports you go back to. I said, no matter what, when I stepped on that court and there were refs versus pickup, my hands would get a little sweaty. I'd have a little more anxiety. I'd have to see who was covering me versus who I was covering. Because, you know, most of us knew the ballers, especially when we had the good old lunchtime crews. And I said it didn't matter how academically I knew about travel or carry or pivot or hook shot or jump shot or fadeaway or reverse. I was like, it's different when you're on the court, and then it's definitely different when you have fans out there. It's definitely different if your lady's watching you. You know what I mean? And I said, academics can't teach you that. Experience teaches you that. And so that's it.
So yeah. You're right. You're 100% right. And I'm just gonna jump in there and give you kind of the way I view academics. And it really hit as I started interviewing in this corporate fellowship for jobs in the corporate America once I transitioned. So, what do you think corporate America values? Academics or experience?
I think they value experience. I think the academics the academics helps. But when you're writing your resume, they want to see the experience, and it's almost like writing bullets, like at a level way more than what we do.
You're spot on.
Right.
You're spot on. So you say experience, and then if you're looking for an entry level position into a certain industry, then they're looking at your credentials.
Right.
Because the credentials, they can take their credentials and then build upon the credentials, the academics with experience, but you still have to get there.
Yep.
The difference between the two, I think, in the Air Force and corporate America is that we have somehow non-value or we have lesser value now on experience. Yeah. I think that's where we're not quite getting it right. And if we are going in the opposite direction of corporate America, then that should tell us something.
And that's bad.
It is. I would say it's a challenge. And what you're finding now is the reason. So a wise mentor of mine once told me that if you ever think if the Air Force has to develop a program to fix a problem, we're screwed.
Well, guess what we did, and it became a bylaw.
Yes.
Called transition.
It is, especially with the BRS, right? But so think about. I know, right? Think about this. So now we have a person that's inside of the office with the commander. That's the senior enlisted leader.
Right.
And then comes a COVID pandemic. And now there's no academics out there.
Yeah.
To deal with this situation. You have to deal with the fact that half your employees don't want to work. The other half of your employees are afraid to leave their house. The other half of the employees are civilian workforces that have different rules set up that allow them to be absent. All right?
Yeah.
You get all this going on in the organization. Now, I am the senior enlisted leader in there with the command team. My job is to help advise the boss on how to institute good order and discipline and execute the mission. Mm. What academics are going to prepare me for that?
None. You got to have the FaceTime, and that, dude. So that goes back to another, and I have to be, both of us. You would tell me, be self-aware first, right? Before I go out poking holes at everybody else, be self-aware. And I understood when I got to this assignment, I was done. I'm gonna be honest with you. I knew I was done, right? I was done at Mass Sergeant, but active duty service.
You reminded me several times that you were done when you were at Nellis.
Yeah,
I didn't believe it, but you did.
Yeah, I was done. When I made chief, remember Manny over at McCord? He goes, when you find yourself being too bitter, he goes, you need to go because you won't be a good chief, And I wasn't. I could have stayed longer, but I started putting my family first. Because I got in custody of my kids, and I'd met Lynn, and my parents moved with me, and I was like, look, I went from Travis, Langley, McCord, and Ellis in almost 5 years with 2 Afghanistan stops and an IUD stop in all that mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And I was like, and this is where it started to get me, is because I fought and fought and fought to get back to Travis to be with my family. And it never happened, right? And I'm hindsight 2020. I thank God it didn't happen, Right. See, and that's the goodness of us as leaders too, is like, okay, well, if you keep the right mind, you'll be where you're supposed to be. But at that time, and then, it was that old bullshit ass, like in order for you to become a tier 4 chief, you got to go through the tiers. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm steadily watching you make sure your buddies, that doesn't apply to them. So how did chiefs selected the flight jump right to the MAGCOM level, while chiefs like me are being told X, Y, and Z? And I'm just
remember what I said about the program. Remember what I said about whatever you want to trust that a program. So let's peel that back a little bit, right?
Yeah.
This is good for your audience too. Let's peel that back. So when you have a program and then you have exception to policy for that same program for one-offs, then every time that one-off happens, then what does it do to your policy? If you got holes in it and everybody's watching, you got holes in it. So I've seen some crazy things.
I watched some 4-offs.
Here's what I would say.
Some 4-offs.
Here's what I would say. Here's the part I think that's missed in each one of those conversations. While it looks shady to you, and while it appears that it's not consistent to you, there's also someone else that's appreciative of the exception of policy because it helped them out in their particular family situation.
No, that part
sucks, right?
That part I'm okay with. The joint spouse piece I live with, even though I'm like, yeah, well, you don't care about me being with my family, and I get it. They're like, hey, you made life choices. That part I'm okay with. I concur, 0 debate. But this wasn't the case with what I saw. And
but that could have been a story to the story though, right? We can agree with that.
Yeah, you know what I think the story is? I think there's some chicken shit 06s who don't want real chiefs because they started firing commanders for loss of confidence for any old reason.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with the fact of that.
Because I think that's when chiefs at the squadron level who don't have an 06 backing stop being allowed to be chiefs. So, and I'm not talking about the narcissistic, I can do whatever I want chief. I'm talking about the chief that actually can fight. I mean, there's a reason why chiefs are held accountable at a higher level, correct? So I think when you allow someone to be the one who says, well, I'm going to pick based on who I get along with the most, there's very few who will say, who's going to balance the scale versus
especially
who do I just get along with?
Especially if you have a thin inventory or you have rule sets in place that says, okay, well, this one is in the code. And I totally get it. As a graduated curriculum manager, trust me, I believe I lost a few friends over trying to manage chief assignment.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's tough, man.
And this is the thing, though. You're not wrong, and I don't think I'm wrong. I think the point is that there's a lot of ambiguity out there that we just are not aware of. And
that is 100% true.
And for Kevin James to say, like, I'll be the first one to be like, it's human nature to be like, bullshit, because I'm not getting my way. Right? I'll be the first one to admit that. But I am not an idiot, so within a day or two, I'll come back and be like, hey, but we talk as chiefs. That's the thing. Yeah, we talk. So I know when someone did not go to the chiefs or the chiefs group to advocate for me, even though they're telling me they did. You know what I mean? And so that's the part that kills me. Is not the way it is the way you bullshit me like I'm an idiot.
I think on that window. No. I know the hell you're talking about, man. I know who you're talking about too. But
yeah.
But what I think kind of bringing this back to where I think it will be very beneficial to your audience.
Yeah.
Is I use when I do a professional development session, I use a short story. Yeah. And I won't tell the story here, but the summary version of the story is, if you know your purpose, very few things will prevent you from executing a task.
Yeah.
And I get so if your purpose is to take care of your children, if I give you a task to go across the steel beam that's about 1,000 feet above, over crossing the Fort Meade Hoover Dam, well, the drop there is, and I say, hey, I'll give you $1 million across the beam, and you would say, man, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here, dude. Then I say, well, I'll give you, $5 million across the beam. You're like, nah, get the fuck out of here. But if your child's on the other side of that gorge,
you're gonna go.
And the only way you can get your child is across that beam. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna do whatever you told me I need to do to get there.
Anything.
Right.
I think going back to your situation is if I absolutely knew the core purpose, and I'm just putting chief assignments out there as one. There could be many more, fitness,
right.
You name it. If I knew the purpose behind it, if I understood the process and it was clear, I wouldn't say transparent, but clear, then you would have no concerns.
No,
because I understand my purpose. And I think to that point, for you and for us, we need to do a better job with these airmen and all these generations that are still serving and making sure they know the purpose. I had a cat that couldn't even tell me the purpose of the fitness program, man. They couldn't even tell me the purpose of them operating in the DFAC outside of providing someone with eggs and food 3 times a day. I'm like, dude, you no, you know your purpose. So I think that's where I think in today's, the more exposure we have to all the instant access, our airmen, and it's evident, KJ.
Yeah,
it's evident in the number of airmen taking their lives every freaking day.
Right, and
it's evident.
And I think I need to add on to this because you reconnected us with the audience. I am so grateful, though, things didn't work out the way Kevin James thought they should have worked out with.
I was going to do it. I was going to jab you at the end on that.
No, you don't got to. Like, look, I'll even throw it out there, right? And I think that's where the airmen need to understand. So, you know me for years. I am going to be passionate about the shit that bothered me, but it's important for, me to also say that I wouldn't even be sitting here on this podcast if I ended up there. I wouldn't have rolled right into another career. People don't know I'm the first active duty chief ever accepted to the Chamber's Leadership Las Vegas program. None of that would have ever happened if I would have gotten my way. And me and you as leaders in our community and in the Air Force, or I'll just use community as a whole, right? Because I think people in the military think community is just in that gate. It's not. You better start building your networks outside that gate, which is what the top threes and all that try to do. The good ones, I will not endorse all of them. And the bridge. No, hashtag the bridge 2021, brother. I mean, no, you're 100% right, because these are the lessons we learned. And I think people will stop listening to Kevin when I'm just like, oh, fuck them and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, but that's what was bothering me at the time. And I refuse to bottle it up because I will go to a dark place when I don't express myself. But what am I going to do with that energy? And I think our destinations are not always where we think we're supposed to be. Hence all the PCSs, right? And that goes back to some of the things that I was bitter about, that I realized I was wrong, because I was like, look, some of these guys who they could just be victim of circumstance too. I mean, don't be a hater, Kevin, because someone else is looked at as going to this position. Does that make sense? It
does. It does. And I would add to it. For you is that the part I didn't tell you about Fred was actually administratively separated from the Air Force. He was extremely bitter about the Air Force.
Yeah, but he loved it, huh?
he knew it was good enough to adjust the gap, address the needs that I needed. So I'm not saying that you're bitter. Yes, I am saying you're bitter. I'm saying you're bitter, but I'm saying this: you bring so much value to everyone that's currently serving, that can also serve, because you can highlight some of the things that maybe big Air Force can take a look at to make it better. But at the end of the day, brother, I'm a firm believer in purpose. Our steps are already ordered for us.
They are.
And I know that if we try to push our way into an area that is not destined for us, that's some friction. But if we just sit back and be patient and operate in our own purpose, it'll happen.
I agree. And so there's a quote that I use that that I took from a professional, because I got this little my Leadership Las Vegas book, is a little orange book, but this is what I take to all my PD because I'm terrible at taking notes. But I said, all right, this is my leadership book. And one of the quotes that I heard was talking about creating a community of care the same way we created a community of consumption. And I think that's what both of our brands is about, is like, I'm not here to consume. I'm here to share people's stories, but I don't have no credibility unless I am willing to expose, my story and how we got here today. And so while I am absolutely not bitter anymore, at the time I was. No, I'm really not. Okay. But I think
I believe you. Why you think I don't believe you?
No. I know the shit talking that we can go back and forth on. I think our intent is so look, I'm 100% disabled. I'm a retired 28-year chief, right? So 100% disabled with 5 dependents. I don't need to work, but I do. And I also do this. Like, I'm not monetized in this. And maybe one day I will be, but I'm not. I felt obligated. So you may be curious because I mentioned the Leadership Las Vegas program. This is where the epiphany happened for this. I was exposed to a lot of stuff that most senior leaders only get exposure to. The mayors, the deputy sheriffs, the CEOs, the businesses, the nonprofits, the medical, the law enforcement, the judges, and I'm all friends with them now. And I was also going through TAP at the same time. And here I am sitting in my chair thinking, I'm good. But that's not Kevin. Because I'm sitting here also talking to a mass sergeant who's worried about how he's going to feed his family.
Oh man, yeah.
And it's never been. I don't know what I'll be. Remember, I learned that lesson. I said, I am not always destined to be what Kevin James thinks he's supposed to be. And I'm okay with that because I fear God. I love God. I'm a spiritual guy. I'm not quite into the gospel like I should be, but I believe I am where I am because someone put me there to have a purpose.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, how awesome for some of these senior leaders to roll right into CEO jobs. And they already got a 6-figure retirement. Like how awesome for you to be able to build that network, and I've got to see the goods and bads and uglies of what's outside those gates. I even had told someone, they were like, man, we really love the vets. I said, yeah, you really love to underpay them because of their work ethic.
Speak on it.
I said, that's what you want. I said, you want to underpay them for what I think is experiences that you've never even had. And I said, I'm not diminishing your experiences. I was like, but give me a break. You know what I mean? I was like Veterans Day. I told someone, I said, don't just celebrate me today, celebrate me every day by living your best life, because that's what we don't do what we do for one day. We do what we do for life. And I was like, these guys are educated. They've been through a lot of shit. I was like, they've missed holidays. They've missed birthdays. I said, they've lost airmen through suicide. I was like, do you really know, when you see my stripes, I was like, there's contrast. I was like, there's a story between each one of those stripes. And it's usually a story of sacrifice. I was like, yeah.
So we to that point, a friend of mine, we're always looking for opportunities, right? We call them, niche markets in business terms, right? Mm-hmm. And one thing that I discovered in my transition, because you brought it up, was that on the officer side, they're already networking much earlier for transition. They're making sure that their development and the soft skills required and the portfolio resume fodder needed is integral to their officer development, so that when we transition, the network receives them wholeheartedly, right?
Yeah.
The post Air Force network. But you just said something that resonates with me. When we look at our enlisted folks who are serving, how well are they prepared to transition, whether that be through separation, whether that be through retirement, and on and beyond? Now, Skills Bridge helps us a lot, so thank goodness for that program. But even in Skills Bridge, it's not vectored towards it's not vectored towards your craft. It's just an umbrella program. Mm-hmm. You pretty much got to find out where you fit in there. But to your point, I think a purpose for you, me, and a couple of other affluent, aspiring entrepreneurs is to be able to do that locally in local governments, local municipalities, being able to establish the network for the veteran to be able to, specifically the enlisted veteran, to be able to transition into a lucrative second career. Right now, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good in vocational. We're doing pretty good in lower level to mid level entry management. But man, there's other opportunities out there with our highly talented, skilled enlisted force.
Yeah, 100%
so
agree.
Just thinking out loud, perhaps.
No, I know.
But
you're
hey,
right.
man, how did the interview with Miss Lovely go? That's inspirational, man. That's
you know
inspirational.
What? So I think it went really well. Some of the criticism was, oh, he pacified her, and then some of it looped me into being culpable to her behaviors. I was like, clearly you don't realize I was part of the team that had to help her exit out. I was like, but I'm a human, and I was like, look, I will never have a guest on my show who's a pedophile to, hey, let's hear your side. You'll never hear me invite someone who beats, spouses. There's non-negotiables in life. I think me and you ethically and morally know that. You will never be on my show. Like, you need to be worried about honey buns and cigarettes in your commissary, right? But we live in a world, even in the safety net programs, there are programs that take inmates, retrain them, and repurpose them to come back into civilization because recidivism is so high, right? And I was like, okay, so you can support that program. And I think there's people out there who just have to be bitter to be bitter, and it's okay. Kevin James was once he still is ignorant in some areas, right?
Us all, baby, us all.
Right. And I'm like, but if you come to it with an open mind and understand that this was not for you necessarily, like, I wasn't doing it to change your mind. I was just putting perspective in the other side of the story out. So, for one, right, I'll tell you, I'm the chief. When I was active, like, I would accept Facebook friends requests from my subordinates. And it was funny because I unfriended her. I was like, I said, hey, I didn't unfriend you because you're not my friend and because I disliked you. I said, you decided that you weren't in the military no more and you was just posting shit. And I said, how does it look that I see that? I said, you ever see that meme with that little stuffed animal, like, trying to act like he didn't see it and walking away?
Yeah, nothing to see here.
I said, I had to close it out. And so for her for us to reconnect, I was like, and I'd always said, I think we as leaders are always forced. And I had another leader who told me this. Rico Hodges? I know you know Rico. He was over at AFPC.
Yep.
So I interviewed Rico's brother, Larry, who's a retired Army vet, entrepreneur. And he said, us as leaders have to be able to manage several perspectives at one time on the same subject.
Say it loud, brother. Say that shit again.
Right.
And say that again.
And I get
brother.
it. Yeah. And I said, that's what I did. I said, I will not dehumanize anyone, especially because the people that inspired us when we, come, like MLK. I love Martin Luther King. Kevin James will tell you this. I don't even know. And I think I'm a pretty badass. What this man went through, I don't think I could have done that, especially once I felt like my family was in danger.
Right.
He had purpose. He was a spiritual man, and he's like, nope, I'm doing this. And look, that's why people remember his name.
Yes, but you got to also remember, as much as people remember his name, going back to your point, there were people that were so pissed off at them to the point that they wanted him dead.
Yeah.
So to your point with Airman Lovely, man, God, man. So the reason why we have the problems we have is we don't have empathetic leaders right anymore.
Right.
You were able to say, hey, I may not agree with what the hell you said, but I'm not going to ostracize you because you had a lapse in judgment. So I want to hear your perspective.
I don't want to dodge your question because this was like, oh, Kevin was challenged by a PhD, KJ, and so no,
I haven't done it yet.
No, well, bring it. I would say bring it. But this is what I would say. It was the first interview I did that I even had some anxiety when I was going to release it because she was very nervous. I saw, she had posted, she's like, I'm really nervous because we had done the interview and I set it to premiere later, which hindsight 2020, I was like, fuck. I was like, that builds a lot of anxiety, right? And even me, I told her, I said, hey, understand that the criticism is probably going to be based or aimed at me now. But it's okay. That's what leaders do. They stand up for those that are down. They pick them up. And people, I think, are like, no, this person doesn't deserve to be picked up. I'm like, bullshit. This shit's over with. And if you have not paid attention to the news, there's a lot of other shit going on. Someone already said, hold my beer. I said, the 2-star got fucking moved, who said she ruined 72 years Air Force, right? 72 years of Air Force greatness. I was like, oh, okay, but you're smashing your LT. Okay, whatever. And I'll say it because I got a blue ID card. The guy was an asshole. So fuck him. So at the end of the day, it was like we reconnected. And she brought up the fact, and I'd always said I would, if I ever did this. So KJ, I had always dreamed of being a talk show host. That was my dream job. If you said, hey Kev, what's your dream job? I said, I love people. I'd love to be a talk show host. And I don't know if I've done well or not, but I never thought this would come to fruition. And because of Leadership Las Vegas and some of the things, the destiny that was the trajectory, that's the word I'm looking for. Here I am. I had the platform and we reconnected. And I said, would you be interested in telling your side of the story of what happened? Because remember what you said? Some things happen so fast, hashtag this. And I knew that there was going to be some potential for me to say, listen, I can bring you to the water. It's up to you to drink. So the interview went well. Just like this, how much did we prep? Like, Zero, right? And it was the same for her. And she asked, she was like, what do you want to talk about? I was like, we can talk about whatever you want. I said, but the big elephant in the room is this. And I said, if you're willing to talk about it, and you'll hear it in the interview, I was like, do you mind talking about this? And she was willing to. And I think that takes courage. I think it takes courage for her to do that. I think it takes courage for leaders like me and you who spent years being criticized, good, bad, or indifferent. We'd be lying as Chiefs to say we were never criticized. To put ourselves out there to be criticized some more by a larger audience when we don't need to. Financially, we could roll off. You know, what would he have when the Chiefs retire? The little horse with the chief on it, like going out into pasture and stuff like that.
That's a thing.
Yeah, well, I didn't get it. I got a parking sign reserved for Chief James for the club. You know what I mean? Because I guess
that's what I'm talking about.
End of trails. There we go. So I had the platform, and I'm a human, and I'm like, this serves several purposes. One, and I'll be the first to tell you, I don't create a platform just to create a platform. I wanted to have traction too. I think my caffeine's finally kicking in. It has to have traction, right? So I said, and I'd already interviewed. I have like 40 plus published podcasts already before I even connected with her. And so she was nervous. I said, who cares? I said, listen, and I'll say this again, loud and proud. I said, anyone today who is still attacking you is a fucking lowlife. I'm like, give me a break. We're years later. You know, we've had George Floyd, we've had COVID, we've had suicides, we've had all these other things. I said, anyone today who's still saying they're super offended by what you said and did, I'm sorry. I don't get it. And I'm not talking about someone who feels something about it. I'm talking about someone who is actively attacking her still. Does that make sense? The difference?
It does. And again, the reason why I was super excited and you told me that is because I think the biggest, I'm just a plug for the bridge now. You don't forgive me if I slide it in there.
No, slide it in there. Bridge is about putting two perspectives. You know, my son is named London because he bridges a blended family together. So I'm all about the bridge.
Really?
That's why my son's name is London.
So now we gotta find a way to work London into the portfolio. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying. But the reason why I think, or the reason why the bridge it was inspired by the civil unrest that happened in Memorial Day weekend, and there were so many discussions about race and defund the police and all this other stuff, all these hashtag moments. And well, there's some legitimacy in a lot of this stuff, but the majority of it is just emotion, right?
Right.
The thing that we don't do, KJ, is this. The thing that we don't do is this right here. The bridge truly is about true education, man.
Right.
Being able to understand everybody's perspective. Geraldine Lovely said some things that were off color, that probably had the wrong adjectives, the wrong names. But some of the crux of what she said was not inaccurate.
Right. Hold on. Let me let everybody know. KJ, well, your picture will be. We'll put a picture on that. I want to make sure that folks don't.
So her message was totally lost because of the characterizations and the hot button topics that are associated with the most vitriol and race. Right. That's what it was. So tell me, why can't we have an opportunity to be able to peel back that and say, hey, Geraldine, you know what? God, man. First of all, you probably didn't realize you were going to be blasted across the nation and the world because you didn't do it in a forum where you thought that was going to be an end state.
Right.
But since you did it, let me tell you what the hurtful part was there, and let's see if we can reframe that and we can get your message out.
Right. Well,
let's do that.
People want to believe what they want to believe, and so like I said, a majority. I'm talking, and I don't mean majority like 55, 45. I'm talking about like in the high 95 plus percentile. Everybody said it was awesome. And the cowards who had something to say didn't leave a comment on the YouTube. I shouldn't say that. I apologize, cowards. The people who were not emotionally ready to accept it, instead of criticizing, could have asked for clarification. And I think what they wanted, there was some, and it's okay. There was some, I think, who just wanted me to crucify her. I think it was like, oh, now the retired chief's going to just be like, you fuck, and I won't do that. Because that's not bridging gaps. We have enough people out there. Come on, if I wanted to go, I did tell Geraldine, I said, can you help me go viral? Because I know it's in the podcast. I said, I know you know about going viral. And she laughed, right? And I said, we're humans, right? And I think it went well. And I think that's the stuff that leaders are made of, where I'm not going to just go interview one-sided perspectives.
You should. We already got enough of that now.
Right. That's what the bridge. I'm sure that when you say the bridge, conceptually, I can picture a bridge, right? And you have to have structure. You're connecting. It has to be strong, right? And
it's it basically shatters the ignorance zone. Yeah. There's no ignorance zone there. I mean, now sometimes ignorance is bliss because we don't want to hear the truth. We don't want to hear it. I mean, like I found out that did you know that General LeMay was the vice president for one of the most racist governors to ever run for office? Didn't know that. Know it now. Did not know. Did not know. It was a vice presidential candidate. Go Google it. So it's not that I want to shape your thoughts about your General LeMay, by no means, but in a no ignorance zone, I want to make sure that you're aware, because we don't talk about any of that piece.
But the closed-mindedness is all around. You know what I mean? The closed-mindedness is on both sides, and that's why I love the bridge. When I think about it, because it's like, look, I said I'm not trying to change your mind, but I'm gonna put the accurate information out. You do what you want with it, and watch how many people all of a sudden dislike you. And it's like you just said.
The goal though.
What
the goal isn't to sow seeds of division. At the end of the day,
it's unity.
The goal is to unify. Everybody. So look here. If I look down and I have. If a six if I'm looking at a six and you're up on the opposite side of me,
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a 6. What do you see?
The 9.
Who's right?
Both of us. But it's okay to come to a common understanding.
Thank you. So from my perspective, I'm right because of the angle that I'm approaching the information.
Right.
From your perspective, you're right because of the angle that I'm from. So therefore, we don't have to say, okay, if I'm right, you're wrong. You can say, no, I'm right because of my perspective.
I love that. I love that. I'm sorry. You're 100% right. Someone posted that, and I was like, well, the 9 is right if you're talking about an E6 and E9, and they didn't find humor in that. I was messing with them, and they didn't find it funny. I think I got called a boomer or something like that. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not a boomer. I'm a millennial, or Gen X. Am I Gen X? What are we, Gen X? Are we? I don't know.
It depends. You have to go Google Robert Hogan, a theorist to that generational eras. And he has changed his mind a couple times. So you can pretty much relate based upon the 10-year gap that you're associated with.
Yeah.
Damn it, I got PhD on you. Damn it. I wasn't supposed to do that.
No, yes, you are. Listen, let me tie this into a concept. I fear no one based on anything, but what I will fear is the day that I can't look in the mirror and cannot gravitate to somebody who has a higher level of education or performance. Like E.T. said, he's like, listen, stop hanging with people who are so inferior to you that it makes you feel like you're something.
Yeah. Oh. Who said that?
Oh, I'll send you the Shine Bright motivational speech. He said, look, if you want to shine like a diamond, you got to get cut like a diamond, and you can't get cut unless you hang with people who can strat and grow you. So I have zero. The day that I fear hanging out with someone who can teach me something is the day that I've realized that I ain't shit. And that's okay if I want to buy a cabin in the woods and just live by myself. I'm not saying that's wrong, but if I'm trying to continually grow, right, then I have to be okay coming on with a friend who is a PhD.
Yeah, we're gonna stop saying that, man, because you keep on saying that. So you have a friend who just happened to go to school, and write a dissertation about something that was important to him.
Okay,
that's it.
Well,
that's it.
See, okay. Well, I'm just gonna call you my brother and KJ, right?
There you go, my man.
And so, it always boils down to, and I got all kinds of stuff, right? But I mean, it's like, when you just said that, it was like another quote that I wrote down was, is your impact tied to your growth, and what growth and investment have you not made because of constraints? I don't have no constraints in my growth because I'm willing to talk to people who can strat and grow me, who will give me another angle. I'm not scared of that. And I think that's what our people need to understand. Don't fear the feedback. Don't default to like someone's trying to bully you because they tell you something about yourself.
Exactly.
And
you got to be willing. So that's what motivates me, man. And I tell you, I think I've lost quite a few people that I thought during this journey were really there to help build KJ, to help enhance KJ, to help make me the better version of KJ. And trust me, brother, that's why me and you are close, because everybody in my circle deposits something into me as a person to make me the best version of myself.
Yeah.
Everyone. If you're, and sometimes you may be, it may appear that person is like, I can't stand his mom. No, I need that too.
Yeah.
I need that opposing opinion too. But I think what I found though, KJ, is that when you find a person that doesn't make any deposits at all, we have to also be ready to just divest ourselves of that environment. And I think that's the tougher part. That's the toughest. You don't have a problem doing it. I've seen you cut people off quickly. I mean, quickly, with the quickness.
Yeah, and it's funny. My wife will do it faster than me. Like I know,
really?
And we haven't even talked about family and your queen and your beautiful kids. But like people who are giving like us, like thank God we got the wives who support us. But like Lynn, she'll be like, yeah, we're done with them, and I'll be like, yeah, I'll be like, yeah, but I'm not. She's like, I'm done. Like, so don't invite me. They can't come to the house. And because she knows that I'm easily taken advantage of. She was like, you always find an excuse to find the good in someone. And I was like, I just think that's how I've been programmed. I was like, think about what I just said. I have to help an airman, even though they put a knife in my back on Monday. But on Friday, all of a sudden, we're talking about a Red Cross message, you know? And I've never necessarily bought into the, I subscribe to it, but I don't buy into it, meaning like, be careful how you treat someone because, one day you might need them. I'm like, I've always been programmed to take care of people regardless how they treated me.
Exactly.
And that's hard one for me to swallow. And I think that's a transition point. But we haven't really talked about a family. And if you're okay with it, we don't get to where we're at alone. And you did a lot better than I did. God blessed me. God blessed me with the perfect wife, who supports me. Like she's probably upstairs with 8-month-old saying, "Why'd you schedule two?" I have this interview and I have another one, and we have family in from out of town. I was like, "Babe, sorry." You know what I mean? Like, once we get rolling, like when you used to come to the paint hard, I remember you were fast and strong, right? And I'm like, once the train gets moving, that's it, and thank God she lifts the gates for me and moves the cars out of the way. And so let's talk about your family and stuff like that real quick, or not real quick. You have a beautiful family. She has obviously supported you in the service, and now as you get ready to go and do other things. How important is that? How can I say it? That stability and that love and that family, and how much does it act as a catalyst to who you've become?
Brother, I would be nothing, absolutely nothing without my wife. She's been the glue, man. Coming up in July of this year, we'll be married for 20 years. We've been through, so when I met you, we were dating. It's a funny story, actually. So I moved out to California in 1998.
I think that's about the time, yeah.
And then she was living in Florida. So we decided that, and I was PCSing from South Dakota. So we decided that if this is going to work, this is me. This is my logic now, not hers, my logic. I said, if this is going to work, I'm moving out to Southern California. We better try living together when I move out there, because I know how I am. Just like you KJ, we know how we are. So we came out there. And for about the first 5 months, I mean, it wasn't even that. We just got on each other's nerves so bad. It was ugly. KJ, it was ugly. So she ended up going back home. And that was right before I went up to Vandenberg for ALS.
Yep.
That's where I met you.
Yeah.
So I was literally, my words, quote unquote, free. I said, man, I'm just going to enjoy myself now that I'm free. About a year and a half later, after many phone calls back and forth, we realized that it wasn't working, us being distant. So we decided to rekindle. And she moved back out in 2001, in May of 2001. And then we got married in July of 2001.
That's beautiful.
And shortly after that, I left to go do my MTT, Mobile Training Team Tour of the PACAV region. We went from Elmendorf, Masawa, Yokota. And around September, August the 30th, 31st of 2001, I was in Osan with about 4 days left before I completed my 4-base tour, headed back to see my newlywed, who was in Southern California with no family. You know what happened next? I was stuck in Osan after the towers came down on September the 11th.
Oh wow!
So I stuck there indefinitely. So that was definitely a defining moment for us. Anyway, long story short, from there, I got back. We've had our first child in 2002. She's now soon to be a 19-year-old freshman at Howard University in the middle of a pandemic. And then I have 2 other amazing kids right behind that, and a beautiful dog. And they truly are. Everything I decide, I do. In fact, the reason why I'm not accepting a command chief job right now is because I withdrew because my daughter was enrolled at Howard, and I decided it was time for me to retire. So
Yeah.
again,
Okay.
all that happened. All that happened to say that the most important thing to me is not only my immediate family, my bride, but my mom, my dad, my siblings. That's what drives KJ.
No, I love it. I love it because some of the things that when you listen to my retirement speech, um, I had pleaded. I said, take service before self out of the core values. Some of us take that to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always put my family second and third to the mission. And someone was like, well, I wouldn't have done that. I was like, but that's the point though. I was like, we have 16,000 different definitions of that. And I think it's important for me to say that because you literally just said, I opted out of command chief to put my family first. Just like I had said, hey, I retired, versus, I mean, I could have went to go be a group. I did try a couple times for the group here. And, I think I was kind of looked at as, you're not all in no more because I kind of said, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and captain my ship now,
Right.
And,
Right.
they didn't like that. And so I said, it's okay. And I'm not bitter. Let me foot stomp that. Because I know you like to rib that into me.
Yeah. You're not bitter. Not at all.
No, brother, man. Like I'm very happy. I mean, I'm sitting in this freezing ass cold studio of mine, talking to a longtime friend, an authentic man who is driven by his family. And I'm sure your wife has said it. If not, she can take this from my wife, because she says it to me all the time. She says, you can be right or you can be happy. Which one do you want? And, I'm like, wow, that sounds like lose to me, but it's not. It's a win, right? So, brother, man, I was like, well, I want to be right sometimes. And she's like, no, you want to be happy. Trust me.
I love Lynn, man. I love that.
And she is a boss, no doubt, just like your wife is, because minds like ours take, I think, a special kind of woman. And I'm so happy that from 1998, we was playing that old Hard Knocks of Life. I've had copyright infringements before, so I'm very cautious now about what music I play. But if I could play it for the audience, that's what was hot when me and KJ met back in Vandenberg. And if you listen to the story, he didn't quite just enjoy that life. He was in the gym balling, and that's how we met. And if anyone was ever doubting out there, and I think I did make a public announcement on Facebook saying you were hands down in my career the toughest basketball player. And that's not to take away from anything, but, we won't focus on that. You like to just write papers and study and smoke cigars and play golf. You are an awesome dude, and I am super, super grateful that at the end of the day, you always looked out for me when I thought no one else was. That means, some point in time, something, whether you saw a basketball or you're like, yeah, I saw KJ posting something, or a Manpower troop reached out to you. You always reached back to me, and I don't think I truly necessarily appreciated it at the level that I should have, nor do I believe I reciprocated as much as I should have. And for that, I'm absolutely grateful for you, dude. And so what I want to do is I want to give you a chance to tell the audience any last words of inspiration, hope, anything like that, before we wrap it up. Believe it or not, dude, like you said it earlier, when it flows, it flows. We've been doing an interview for over an hour and a half. So
it is.
So brother, the floor is yours. And then I'll close us out.
So, amen. First of all, thank you for your time. I mean, I'm very supportive of KJ, the man, the myth, and the legend. Even if it did start in an area, I never would have imagined our relationship would have unfolded the way that it did, based upon our mutual connection to the basketball court. Now, mind you, it was very hard charging and heartfelt, and there was some explicitives involved, I'm certain. But hey, lovely, man. So I would say, keep doing you, man, for sure. Because everybody has a person that's going to tell you what they want you, what you want to hear. The most valuable person in your ear is the person that tells you what you need to hear. I know that for our entire relationship, that you've always always 100% told me what I needed to hear. For that, I'm grateful and greatly appreciative. What I'll leave with your audience, man, is that don't get too caught up in our divisive climate. Just think about it when you're in an organization with people, when you're in your peer group. There could very well be about 5 different generations involved in that network. That means that's 5 different ways that people thought that people think. 5 different generations of influences that shapes how they think. And I would just leave with your team the term epistemology. It's a theoretical term. It talks about the source of your knowledge. Very, very important term. So epistemology suggests that your knowledge is shaped by your surroundings and your experiences. So if the only experience that you have shapes your knowledge, then that means you're very ignorant on other experiences. So I would challenge everyone as a parting word to the audience. Don't be so averse to getting outside of that area that you're comfortable and learning something different. Challenge your epistemological boundaries. So the opposite of epistemology is ontology. It is that which is truly known based upon the perspective in which you view it. So, had to drop that on you, KJ. Hey, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Look forward to seeing the great things you're doing. Hey, I got to get you involved in the bridge as well.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Like I'm pretty good at moving rocks. Like I'm nursing a hurt shoulder. But if you're looking for me to say them big words that you just said, you might find me being along the lines of pejorative. Progressively getting
like
worse.
5 syllables.
No, brother, man. I got a lot of love for you and a lot of respect for you, man. And sometimes it just kind of comes out of a left field, and I think that shows progression for me. And I'm absolutely here to support you. And you let me know what you need from me, and we will definitely make it happen. So here we go. Let's see. We're going to wrap it up the way we started. I like the funky beat, and
my Geritol.
No, like hopefully you're like kind of moving your shoulders, and kind of doing the stuff that we would see on Facebook when the older gentlemen, the tall glasses of water get out there, right? And I don't know, Running Man was back in our day. I don't even know. I can do the Falling Man. But hey, listen, y'all. This is the other KJ. And he may say I'm a legend, but that's because he's the legend. And if you want to know anyone who's ever looked out for me, it was this gentleman. And listen, the bridge is coming. 2021, # the bridge. Don't be afraid to look out for it. See what it's about. And thanks for listening. Always wishing you warm love. Well, with that warm love. Always wishing you wellness and love, right? And be inspired by something or someone, and don't be afraid to reach out. This is from KJ Studios. Take care.